The upcoming race in Brazil is poised to be one of the most interesting racing events during this season, and if we're to judge by recent history, we'll be entertained by both Mercedes drivers as they've set their eyes on the prize. With Horner's recent statement about Hamilton and with the rumours about Perez becoming stronger by the day that his seat is definitely not certain for 2024, Brazil might answer some of the big questions revolving around certain names, and it can also continue Mercedes' streak of winning at least one race in a season. But what's more important is that all of this can and will be done by fights on the track, as we are headed into some of the most anticipated fights, ones that have the potential to reminisce about the 2021 legendary battle in Abu Dhabi between Verstappen and Hamilton. Will we see the clash of the titans in a much closer manner? And if so, will Perez be the collateral damage of this duel? It goes without saying that Mercedes have set their eyes on one priority: winning a race in 2023 and making a solid run in both championships in order to secure as good a result as possible. Right now, Hamilton is on a solid 20-point deficit behind Perez, and winning second place in the championships is more or less the only goal that remained pursuable for Mercedes. Now that they've figured out all the things that ruined the competitiveness of their car for the 2024 season, Brazil will be the perfect turf on which the seven-time world champion can win his first race after the 2021 Jeddah GP. This is something that he's quite happily looking forward to, and when elaborating further on this, Hamilton went on to say, "I love this track. It's just such a cool track. There's something so special about Brazil. There's the energy here. It's the people, the culture, the language which I need to learn. It just makes the whole place so special. That, for me, just energizes me. We had a 1-2 here last year, but I plan to do better this weekend." Obviously, the competitiveness of Russell has been kind of questionable in the past couple of races, especially if you were to compare it with Hamilton, who's finished second in both of the past two races in Austin and Mexico, and had it not been for the disqualification in Austin, he would have been past Perez right now in the Drivers' Championship. Be that as it may, nothing is lost yet, and while Hamilton believes that Perez needs to have a bit of a downfall in the remaining three races of the calendar in order for him to win second place in the championship, the upcoming race is a sprint weekend and he can utilize it perfectly in his favor. Furthermore, Mercedes trackside engineer Andrew Chauvelin was very optimistic about the floor upgrade that Mercedes brought to Austin and were able to further exploit in Mexico, believing that this is the key factor that will provide them with a competitive edge over the RB19 in one of the tracks Hamilton favors the most. Speaking about the car's performance right now and whether or not it's enough to challenge the Austrian team for wins, Chauvelin said, "If we look at the performance in Austin, we look at the performance in Mexico, being able to race cars like McLaren and Ferrari effectively, we'd say that the track data is definitely suggesting that we've made a forward step. Now, bear in mind that all the top teams have been bringing updates to the car over the last few races. It is crucial that you can match them on development, even better them, to be able to continue to fight them on track. The other thing is we collect a lot of data off the car, so pressures off the floor, pressures off the wings, loads on the car, and all that data is correlating really well with what we're seeing in the wind tunnel. But to think that this will be done without any resistance from Perez, or to hope that he will be struggling yet again, is a bit of an ignorant opinion, and Hamilton knows that better than anyone else. Perez is all ready for the fight for P2, and while his teammate is probably the one that is going to feel more challenged by the seven-time world champion, the Mexican driver is ready to put it all on the line and prove to everybody that he's still not done with this sport. Elaborating on this and the motivation that he has after the Mexico disaster, Perez said, "Mexico was devastating for me, but in this sport, these things happen, and you can't afford to keep going over what could have been. I wanted to win my home race more than anything, but that is gone now, and my full focus is on finishing second in the championship. We need to have a great weekend in Brazil, and I feel confident in our ability to get results right now. It felt like things were coming together last last weekend with the direction we are taking. I am more comfortable in the car. The work the team and I have put in together is paying off in terms of setup and performance. Brazil is a totally different challenge to Mexico, but it's always a fun track, and we have 2 opportunities to score points this weekend. So while sprint weekends are a challenge on setup, we want to maximise this chance all we can. Perez indeed has all the rights to be motivated in order to prove that he still has got it in himself, but the bad news for him is that Mercedes have fixed their Achilles heel, as Wolff labelled it during the Mexico GP, and it's safe to say that they will be the closest runner-up to Verstappen this weekend, with a potential mix of Lando Norris or Oscar Piastri in the McLarens. You can never really write off the Ferraris as well, so all in all, it should be a very anticipated weekend for F1 fans. And what does seem like a massive plus for the entire F1 world is that we might be seeing another F1 race winner other than Sainz, Verstappen and Perez. Verstappen has been marching comfortably towards breaking his own records, and with a current stake of 16 wins, his win-to-race ratio is quite astonishing. What's even more is that if Verstappen manages to win one of the remaining 3 races, he will break Ascari's record of 75% win percentage that stands alive from 1952 and will move to 77%. And if he manages to win all 3 of the races, the percentage will jump drastically to 86.36%. We can speak about this all we want, but this is quite the motivation for Verstappen to send it fully during the next 3 races and make sure that he'll crush every record possible before he sets sail and prepares for the 2024 season. And Mercedes should definitely worry about this factor, as they will be looking to lock down their first win of the season. Regardless, the team knows that they have a legitimate chance here for the win, and elaborating on the issue that was solved in Mexico, Wolff went on to say, HPP has done a fantastic job over the past few years. That was always our Achilles heel here, that the turbo didn't breathe good enough. That's sorted, and it's a strong weekend. Our power unit was like all the others. I couldn't be more proud of what HPP has achieved with the power unit. Even Red Bull understands that the contestant knocking on their front door will likely be Mercedes, in the form of a raging 7-time world champion wanting to grab a win in the country in which he has honorary citizenship. And when talking about this, Horner did sound visibly worried, as he went on to say, they've been competitive on race runs here in Mexico, and Austin's difficult to judge because of obviously what happened. But we expect them to be competitive in Brazil for sure. Brazil for us is a scratch unitched from last year. We felt we didn't quite get the setup right there, so we'll go and try and put that right this year. With all this in mind, we are poised to have a very strong weekend full of interesting twists, and if you add the fact that Friday is very likely to present us with thunderstorms during the race, then the starting lineup on Sunday may very well get tweaked. This is something that Red Bull's Verstappen usually thrives on, but you can never say never when it comes to Brazil, and the nature of the track is a lot more favouring for the W14. Do you think that Hamilton will be winning his first race of the season after such a long pause? And more importantly, do you think that he's going to kick Perez from second place in the Drivers' Championship? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.